woke up a Snow White stepmother, and now I have to talk to this mirror every single day. I asked the magic mirror, "Mirror, mirror, who's the prettiest of them all?" The mirror went dead silent for a second, then muttered, "Snow White." I cracked my knuckles, flashed a big grin, and asked, "Got any photos?" The mirror sounded pretty ticked off. "Don't push it." I stood my ground. "Look, you're the one who said she's the fairest. Why shouldn't I get a look? Send me a pic. If you don't have one, go snap one now." The mirror hesitated, but eventually sent a photo. Big eyes, double eyelids, fair skin, and jet black hair. She was a total bombshell. My eyes lit up. Yes, keep M coming. I'm loving this. Send some videos too. I wouldn't mind a shower scene. Overcome with grief and rage, the mirror let out a scream. "Get lost." Then, it went offline. No matter how much I called, it wouldn't respond. I mean, with such a weak ego, how did it even land the job of magic mirror? As you can see, I'm the queen. In this fairy tale, the king has been out of the picture for ages. It's just me and Snow White in the castle. My daily routine is pretty simple. Check in with the magic mirror about who's the hottest, and then just spend the day admiring photos of Snow White. At first, the mirror kept trying to bait me. It'd go, "Look at her. See how stunning she is. My queen, if Snow White were out of the picture, you would be the fairest in all the land." I just snorted in contempt. BS. I saw Cinderella's stepmother at the last banquet, and she's way hotter than Snow White. I gave the mirror a little slap and said, "Hey, can you show me Cinderella's stepmother? I've got a thing for her too." The mirror was totally shut down, unable to process what was going wrong. "Wait, aren't you jealous of Snow White? Why on earth would I be jealous of her?" I asked. "Because she's beautiful," the mirror shrieked. "In that case, send me a couple more photos so I can see just how beautiful she is. And don't you dare blur them," I asked. The mirror was deeply traumatized. It didn't even turn on for 2 whole days. With nothing better to do, I finally ran into Snow White at a banquet. This was my first time meeting Snow White since I traveled to this world. And man, she really is as stunning as the mirror said. I didn't feel a hint of jealousy though. After hitting it off with her, I decided to take her surfing at the beach. She was standing there in this extravagant gown, looking all elegant just like a gorgeous statue. I asked her to put on a wetsuit, but she looked confused and said, "Do I really have to wear it? They told me that as a princess, I have to act like one at all times." I told her softly, "No, honey, you need to stop living for other people's opinions. You can do whatever you want, and you can be whoever you want to be." She hesitated for a split second, but after seeing the encouragement in my eyes, she finally changed her clothes. The mirror groaned weakly. "This is all wrong. A prince would never fall for a princess like this." I snapped back, totally unfazed. Like I give a damn what the prince likes. Waves kept rolling in, and Snow White was having a blast. I was having the time of my life too. Then, I spotted a weird-looking wave drifting over from the distance. I squinted to get a better look. There seemed to be someone on it. As it got closer, I realized it was a person. A man was washed ashore, and right behind him, a little red-headed beauty popped her head out of the water. Having read all the fairy tales, it clicked for me instantly. She was the Little Mermaid. I didn't even give the unconscious prince a second glance. Instead, I just waved at the Little Mermaid and said, "Hey there." She was a bit shy, tucking herself back into the water without a word. I took a few tentative steps forward, and finally, she spoke up. "Hello, beautiful queen." I brought the Little Mermaid ashore. On the sand, her tail was shimmering with 1,000 colors, and her long hair was as smooth as silk. She was every bit as stunning as Snow White. "Aren't you scared of my tail?" she asked me timidly. "Why should I be? It's gorgeous," I replied. She looked puzzled, but the sea witch told me that a prince only loves girls with beautiful legs. I said firmly, "Who gives a damn what he likes? You just be yourself." She stole an admiring glance at the prince. I asked, confused, "Do you actually like this guy?" She blushed and whispered, "Because he's so gentle." I replied, "How would you know that? Has he even spoken to you?" "No," she said, "but they say he's gentle to everyone." I snorted. "Then he's not actually gentle. Truly gentle people don't put on a show for everyone to see." The Little Mermaid just stared at me, looking half convinced, but still a bit lost. Just then, the prince opened his eyes, and the first person he saw was Snow White. He gazed at her with so much affection and said, "Beautiful princess, thank you for saving my life." The little mermaid froze. She looked pretty heartbroken. I burst out laughing and said, "See that? He's such an idiot, he can't even recognize his own savior. He's totally not worth your time." The prince was utterly confused. He couldn't wrap his head around why these three women were completely ignoring him. I mean, he's a prince. Usually, girls would be swarming all over him. This made zero sense to him. Even though no one gave him the time of day, he stubbornly insisted that the person who saved him must be a princess. He sat up, full of himself, and said to Snow White, "Beautiful princess, may I invite you back to my castle?" I slapped him aside and snapped, "Who the hell do you think you are? Hitting on my daughter right in front of me? You've got some nerve. You just met her, and you're already trying to get her to go home with you." The prince tried to explain, "My queen, are you perhaps jealous of the princess's beauty?" Watching his stupid mouth spout nonsense, I was fuming. My hand was itching to give him another slap, but I held back. I thought to myself, me, jealous of an idiot like you. I didn't travel all the way to this world just to listen to your pretentious BS. While I was lost in thought, the little mermaid had already dived back into the ocean, hiding behind a reef with only her eyes peeking out. I grabbed the prince by the collar and, ignoring his shrieks, shoved his head underwater. "Take a good look. This is the one who actually saved your life." The prince struggled and caught a glimpse of the mermaid's tail. He stammered in total shock. "Wait, why is there a mermaid here?" I pointed at the little mermaid and said, "She's the one who just brought you ashore." Snow White and I both saw it with our own eyes. The prince looked like his brain had completely short-circuited, glancing back and forth between Snow White and the little mermaid. Suddenly, he had a eureka moment. "I get it now." He pointed a finger at Snow White and yelled, "You're in love with me. That's why you're trying to take credit for saving me." I was speechless. The prince just kept spouting total BS, looking incredibly smug. "Every princess wants to marry a prince. You're dying to marry me, aren't you? Even though you lied, I'm willing to forgive you." I kicked him right back into the water. The guy is a total nutjob. I can't let him mess with the girls' heads. After saying goodbye to the little mermaid, Snow White seemed lost in thought the whole way back. I asked her what was on her mind. "Stepmother, I don't get it," she said. "They've always told me that a princess is only successful if she marries a prince. But I really didn't like that guy. Seeing it for yourself really makes all the difference. No one is born a hopeless romantic. If they are, they've definitely been brainwashed." I said to Snow White, "You are a princess, the daughter of a king. You have so many choices in life. Marrying a prince isn't the only way to find your place in the world. Can I just never get married?" Snow White asked. "As long as that's what you want, you absolutely can," I replied. Snow fell into a deep silence, and then slowly spoke, "Even without a prince, can I still be a real princess?" I nodded. "Of course, sweetheart. You are beautiful, kind, and noble. You can be a real princess, and if you want, you can be a fierce warrior, or a powerful queen. Life is full of possibilities. Who told you that marriage is the only measure of success?" The mirror chimed in weakly. "This is madness. If a princess doesn't marry a prince, what kind of princess is she anyway?" I shot a glare at the mirror and snapped, "Don't force me to slap you while I'm in a good mood. Mirror, mute yourself. Say one more word and I'll smash you to pieces." After all, it wasn't the first time I'd threatened the mirror like that. But I added, "A princess is a princess by birth. She doesn't need a prince to define her." The mirror stayed depressed for a moment, before chiming in again. "I'm telling you, it's no use. No matter how hard you try, the princess is destined to marry the prince. That's just how this world works." I picked up a rock and made a move as if I were going to smash it. Even so, the mirror didn't flinch. It continued in a sarcastic tone. "You'll see sooner or later. It's futile. The princess will marry the prince and live happily ever after. Period." Deep down, I knew the mirror was Raytaz, ridiculous as it sounds. I didn't argue because that is the ultimate rule of this world. A princess marrying a prince is hardwired into the system. But I'm going to break that rule, because I wasn't born into this world's logic. The next day, The king, who had been offline this whole time, suddenly showed up. Turns out, I'm not a widow. He's not dead. He was just on a long trip. I looked at my castle, my daughter, and my mountain of gold. Then I looked at this old man who had just popped back into our lives. It hit me. He really could just stay dead. The king had this fake, nice, benevolent smile on his face as he walked up to Snow White and me. "My dear wife, my precious daughter," he said. I was totally out of patience. "Whatever you have to say, make it quick." The king seemed like he was programmed. He didn't even flinch at my cold shoulder. "I'm heading out on another journey soon," he continued. "What gifts should I bring back for you?" Snow White gave her father a small smile and said, "Father, please bring me a rose." I was taken aback. Oh crap, the plot is moving way too fast, isn't it? Is this turning into Beauty and the Beast? The mirror whispered behind me. The story must unfold. In fairy tales, a princess is destined to cross paths with her prince, no matter what. I looked at the mirror with a smirk and said, "Who says the plot can't be changed? At least the Little Mermaid isn't obsessed with that prince anymore, right?" I refused to follow the script. Why on earth should my stunning princesses exist only as accessories to some prince? Under the stunned gaze of the magic mirror, I began my performance. I grabbed the king's arm and said, sounding all hurt, "You've only just returned, and you're leaving us for another journey already." The king looked puzzled and fell into deep thought. He started wondering why his past was a total blank, and why he had only just appeared in the castle at this very moment. Suddenly, he had an awakening of his own. He slapped his forehead and said, "You're right. Why have I been traveling all this time? I can't even remember the purpose or the details of my journeys." I seized the moment and added, "Exactly. Just running off and abandoning your wife and daughter. Your Majesty, have you forgotten your people? You're always traveling. Who's left to look after your subjects? Your citizens trust you so much. How can you just shirk your responsibilities like this?" Moved by my righteous lecture, the king decided to cancel his trip and focus on governing the country. I kept fueling the fire. Right on. The highest honor for a king is to ensure the happiness of his people. The king puffed out his chest and declared, "You are absolutely right. I shall get to work immediately and be the best king I can be." I smiled to myself, thinking, someone has to do the heavy lifting in this life, so why shouldn't it be the king? The mirror was silent. The mirror was speechless. The mirror was officially shut down. But I wasn't done yet. I turned around and asked Snow White, "Sweetheart, do you actually want a rose?" Snow White frowned slightly and said, "I don't think I really want one, but everyone says a princess is supposed to love roses." I patted her on the shoulder and said, "Don't listen to their BS. You can like whatever the hell you want." The mirror sat there, gritting its teeth. You can't use that kind of language in front of the princess. I ignored the mirror and gave Snow White an encouraging look. Her eyes lit up as she asked, "I've got it, stepmother. I want a sword, a sharp, sturdy sword." "Why a sword?" I asked, curious. She didn't hesitate for a second. "No reason. I just like it." There was absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I couldn't agree more. No reason is the best reason of all. As long as she's down for it, she can love whatever she wants. I hired the finest swordsman in the kingdom for Snow White. She told me she had never been happier and vowed to become the greatest swordswoman in the world. The king was having a blast too. He said he'd never felt so fulfilled, that feeling of burning the midnight oil over state affairs. Like he could drop dead from overwork at any moment, was oddly addictive to him. Only the mirror was in total seclusion. So depressed it couldn't even hold a normal conversation with me. I decided to mess with it. Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Get lost, the mirror replied, sounding completely lifeless. I'm not showing you any videos. Fine by me. If you're not showing, I'm not watching. Thanks to my meddling, the prince and the princess still haven't crossed paths. But this world isn't giving up just yet. One day, while I was chilling at the beach, I ran into the Little Mermaid Agamemnon, the prince. For the second time, the Little Mermaid had dragged the prince ashore. She couldn't wrap her head around it. The moment she saw me, she started venting. Why the heck is he in the water again? This time, she wasn't soft-spoken at all. A look of sheer frustration washed over her beautiful face as she let out a heavy sigh. I think there's something wrong with him. He falls to the bottom of the ocean every single day. I go out just to look at some coral, and boom, there he is. If he can't swim, why does he keep jumping in? The entire underwater world is gossiping about him now. We're all just wondering, when is this guy finally going to drown? It was clear that another character had awakened, and the plot was glitching hard. In the classic trope, the mermaid saves the prince, falls in love, and the prince mistakes a princess for his savior. But now, the princess is determined to become the world's greatest swordswoman. With no princess to mistake, the prince is stuck in a loop, continuously falling into the sea, waiting for a savior who will never complete the script. Suddenly, the prince opened his eyes. Seeing me on the shore, he yelled in a rage, "You! What are you doing here again? It's all your fault because of your big mouth." The princess never showed up, and now I'm stuck falling into the water every single day. I was stunned. How did he know why he was falling into the sea? Did he know about the script too? I shot back. "What exactly do you mean by that? You're the one who ruined my life," he barked. He scrambled up from the sand, glared around, and cursed at me again. "You think a few words from you can change everything? Well, I've got news for you. It's impossible." He fixed his hair until he looked somewhat presentable again. Then, he turned to the little mermaid and asked, "Beautiful princess, was it you who saved me?" The little mermaid said nothing. We both watched in silence, waiting to see what he would do next. With that same old narcissism, he added, "Would you like to come back to my castle with me?" There was a long silence before the little mermaid finally spoke. "Are you an idiot?" That one sentence hit him like a ton of bricks. Completely crushed, he wandered away from the beach, cursing under his breath. The little mermaid looked a bit disappointed. "Now that I've rejected him, is he still going to keep jumping into the sea?" she asked. "I made a bet with my sisters yesterday. If he doesn't show up tomorrow, I'm going to lose." Clearly, her storyline had completely derailed too. Once she saw the prince for who he really was, her hopeless romantic tendencies were cured instantly. The mirror, as depressed as ever, whispered to me, "Are you really not jealous of Snow White's beauty? As long as she's out of the picture, you would be the fairest in the land." Faced with its persistent nagging, I remained puzzled. "And what exactly are the perks of being the most beautiful?" I asked. The mirror short-circuited for a second. Then, thinking it saw an opening, it said excitedly, "By being the most beautiful, you can have everything, my queen." I chuckled. The king looks like a total wreck, yet he owns an entire kingdom and has a stunning wife like me. Clearly looks aren't the top priority here. "That's different," the mirror argued. "He's the king. You're just the queen. Beauty is the only goal you should be striving for." I knew exactly what it was getting at. Because I'm the queen and not the king, I'm supposed to use beauty to win his heart, just to enjoy luxury. Without it, I'm supposedly worthless in his eyes. But what if women held the power? Would we still need to worship kings and princes? The mirror called me delusional. I just smiled and told it, "Just you wait and see." Before long, the king had granted me a significant amount of power. With his blessing, I took Snow White to attend a banquet in a neighboring kingdom. In the carriage, Snow White's skin looked radiant and healthy. She was visibly more spirited. She said to me, "Stepmother, you were right. I should ask myself more often what I truly want." Ever since I was a child, I've been taught to be submissive, polite, and to maintain the decorum of a princess. They told me that was the only way a prince would ever want to marry me. But they never once asked me if that's the life I wanted. Why do I have to marry a prince? I want to be a queen of fierce, warrior queen, who doesn't give a damn what any prince thinks. I offered her my full support and shared my own perspective. Only women who rely on princes for their survival need to camouflage themselves within the frameworks those princes created. There are no right or wrong choices in life. Most of the time, when people say you're wrong, it's simply because you didn't choose the path they prepackaged for you. A princess doesn't have to stay a princess, and a queen doesn't necessarily have to remain just a queen. I felt a deep sense of pride seeing her find her purpose once again. At the banquet, the prince stood alone in the center of the room, looking for all the world like a solitary pig. Sitting behind him, I watched as he turned down dance invitations from 13 different girls. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd. "He's so incredibly rude. I only asked him for a dance, not a marriage proposal." Snow White was also acting quite aloof today, rejecting dance requests from numerous men. She finally understood that she didn't need to depend on any man for her worth. Just then, a mysterious woman stepped through the doors. The hem of her gown shimmered with a delicate, starlit glow, and her stunning face left everyone breathless. I knew right away, this had to be Cinderella. I watched with bated breath, waiting for the next scene to unfold. I'm truly curious now. How many more surprises does this world have in store for me? The prince's parched soul seemed to have finally found its oasis. He struck a pose, waiting for Cinderella to gravitate toward him, but she didn't even spare him a glance. She brushed right past him and walked straight to a lady of extraordinary elegance, breaking into a bright smile. "Mother, I'm sorry I'm late." Cinderella's stepmother nodded with satisfaction. "I love your dress today. Did you design it yourself?" Cinderella beamed at the compliment. "Of course." She spun around, her skirt fluttering, revealing the dazzling crystal slippers on her feet. "And these shoes? When you gave them to me, Mother, I knew I had to design a dress that was truly peerless to match them," she said happily. Oh boy, this plot has completely spiraled out of control too. Nobody spared a single thought for the prince, whose world felt like it was crumbling to pieces. Cinderella's stepmother led her over to me and said with a respectful nod, "My queen, it's been far too long. I saw Snow White earlier. She looks absolutely radiant." Indeed, the Cinderella family and I go way back. As fellow stepmothers, we were destined to have plenty to talk about. The stepmother let out a soft sigh and said to me, "You were right when you told me to nurture the girls' talents according to their own passions. My eldest is already traveling the world, and my second daughter is studying art. She's on her way to becoming a professional painter." She patted Cinderella's hand. Only Cinderella refuses to leave her mother's side. She insists on becoming a designer so that every woman can wear clothes that truly suit her. She framed it as a complaint, but her eyes were brimming with pride. Spoken like a true villainess of a fairy tale, Evan, her bragging was full of confidence. See, I had started laying the groundwork a long time ago. As long as the characters awaken, who would ever choose a useless prince over their own potential if not for the constraints of the plot? But the story still had a mind of its own. At the top of the stairs, without any warning, one of Cinderella's crystal slippers went missing anyway. On the carriage ride home, Cinderella remained dejected. "That was a gift from my mother," she murmured. "It's so strange. How could it just vanish like that?" Her stepmother comforted her patiently. "It's all right, Cinderella. I can give you another pair. We'll have the servants go back and look for it tomorrow." I stayed silent for a while, thinking to myself, the prince will probably pick up that slipper and start a kingdom-wide search for his bride. Sure enough, news arrived 3 days later. The prince had found a crystal slipper, and anyone who could fit into it would become his princess. Snow White, who was supposed to be practicing her swordsmanship, came specifically to gossip with me about this. "What exactly is he doing with his life?" she asked. "As the heir to a kingdom, shouldn't he be studying or working? Why is he always either jumping into the ocean or picking up random shoes? What on earth is his brain even made of?" To be honest, I didn't get it either. Snow White fell into a long silence, then finally said, "He is not a qualified heir. I bet his people are living in absolute misery." She raised her longsword, her gaze unwavering. "Mother, let us go and save those suffering people. Ordinary citizens are struggling just to survive. They can't even afford a loaf of bread. If an heir only brings pain to his subjects, it means he is occupying a throne that doesn't belong to him." I watched her quietly, a smile spreading across my face. "Sweetheart, you must realize your father might not approve of this." The blade of the sword reflected Snow White's stunning face. She replied coldly, "Mother, I will make father agree. See, once you possess the power to choose, you become the master of your own destiny." Then, Snow White told me that for a long time, she had found this world utterly bizarre. "Ever since I was born," she said, "everyone kept telling me that because I'm so beautiful, I'm destined to marry the bravest prince. It's as if the ultimate prize of my life is to be wed to a man, and winning a princess is just a trophy for a warrior." Confusion and a sense of injustice flickered in her eyes as she cried out, "But why? Why must I sit in a high tower, waiting for the victor to pick me, or endure endless suffering, just to wait for a prince to rescue me. I want to be the victor myself. I refuse to be someone else's accessory. I continued to encourage her, saying, "Of course you can, as long as you will it." When the princess in the story starts to think for herself, she realizes that marrying a prince is actually a terrible deal. Once the kind protagonist and the wicked secondary character stop clawing at each other over a man, they discover that the world is full of meaningful things, every single one of them, far more joyful than marrying a prince. The story is far from over. The second half is where things get truly legendary. Stay tuned and subscribe to my channel for more.